episode 177 of the Whatnauts review show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV series, anime, comic book, audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we discuss it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined as always by my co-captain, Kyle Springer.
Hello, and happy Halloween month.
Yes, this is our first episode of October.
An entire month of Halloween. Can you believe that every day in October is Halloween?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's a good time of year. It's starting to get cooler out. I no longer have to use my fan at night to keep me cool, which is nice. I still turned it on last night because I like the white noise. But man, it's like we can keep the windows open. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like it. How are you, Melissa?
I'm doing good. I went to my first Halloween party last night. Got one in early this month.
That is an early one. How was it?
It was fun. It played some Jackbox. That's my one requirement for any party. I just want to win at Quiplash once.
Good stuff. I think today here at my house. The house is kind of hectic. We're not having a party, but my roommate's boyfriend is now living with us. He right after he left to go work on Stranger Things season 4, the apartment that he lives in, like a wall fell off his house, so he had no house, so all his stuff got moved into our place, and he's like officially on the lease now.
Okay.
And then that same roommate, her dad is coming over to watch the game, and we're cooking, and there's people over, so yeah, we have a hectic house, and it's a good feeling indeed this weekend. But Melissa,
good to live in a house that's full of people and not full of ghosts.
Yeah, exactly, which is what we are kind of talking about today. What are we discussing? What movie are we talking about this week, Melissa?
Last week, I pitched you a set of international horror movies, and you picked Lake Mungo. This is a 2008 horror movie from Australia, written and directed by Joel Anderson, and this is unique because it is in the style of a documentary. I'm hesitant to use the word mockumentary because I feel like that puts it in somebody's head that this is a comedy, and it is not. It is a very somber film.
Yeah, it's a mockumentary, not in the sense that it is a comedy, but in the sense that
it's
it is
just
a fake
false
documentary.
Yeah,
a fake-umentary. I don't know if that works or not, but yeah. So you pitched this one last week, and I picked it because I kind of had this fascination with the trope of like, hey, a character dies, and then you do some kind of investigation into their life and death, but you end up like finding out more about them that you didn't know. Maybe they had secrets, or stuff like that. It happens often enough in TV and film, but I don't think it's also like a prominent trope that's out there. So when one does come up, I'm like, ooh, that could be neat. That could be fun.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked this one. Because we have, I guess, to kind of get into a very basic plot synopsis, is we have the disappearance and death of this young girl. I don't remember her name off the top of my head.
Her name is Alice Palmer. She's about 16. Her and her family go out swimming at a dam, and she gets out of their sight and she drowns accidentally. And it's about the family learning more about secrets that Alice kept, after her
Right.
death. And there is a little bit of a ghost mystery in there too.
Yeah, so she passes away, and then there's some supernatural stuff that starts happening
Hmm.
to the family and around the house, and we kind of get to see how the family is coping with all
Yeah.
of this. So it's an interesting film, but I
Yeah,
I
it's
I
about
think. Oh, go ahead.
no, it's about like coping and questioning and investigating. Like this is it's not so
Exactly.
much that
Yeah.
supernatural things are happening, it's about the question of, are there supernatural things happening? Or are we so affected by grief that it's making us see things?
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. Um, I think for me, like when you pitched this and I looked it up, I think one of the things, like it kept getting like top ratings and stuff like that, and like this film is really scary. Like, oh my god, like it's one of the
Hmm.
scariest Australian
Yeah.
films, period. And so yeah, I have to admit I was a little nervous going
Uh-huh.
into this one to be like, uh-oh, is this gonna be too scary for me, for little old Kyle? No, not the case. Not the
Yeah.
case indeed. I didn't think this was super scary. There's maybe one or two parts that I could see people getting scared at.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, for the most part, I think maybe scare factor is a little disappointing, but I still liked it. I thought the movie was
Yeah.
fine.
I'd
Not
say
one that I think now that I've watched it, not really one that I would say like, oh yeah, this is a good one that you should watch for like a Halloween party or stuff like
yeah,
that. But
yeah. It's
if
very
you're looking for
serious.
maybe more of the like art house kind of stuff, like the smaller films that are in horror stuff, then yeah, I think this might be one to check out.
Yeah, I think it is scary at the times when it is
When it needs
trying to
to
scare
be, yeah.
you. Yeah, yeah. Um, I think that's true. More than anything, it's a sad movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
like I was glad to this is a movie I've heard about for years. I was glad to finally see it. It is a very impactful, effective film, and it did leave me in kind of a bummer mood all week.
It kind of did.
Yeah, it's a
Not that
bit of a
that's
downer, but
necessarily a
it's a very
bad thing.
interesting movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, uh, yeah, so I found this on Amazon Prime is where I
Mm.
found it. They have it for free there. They actually have two versions of the film, which oddly enough aren't actually two versions of the film. It's the exact same version. One
Uh-huh.
just has a different title, uh,
What's
called
that
After
called?
Dark, Lake Mungo, and it's
Huh.
apparently the film was a part of some like After Dark film festival or
Yeah,
something.
okay. So I watched this for free on Tubi. I think just because I should have checked Prime.
Yeah.
Like I just when I googled the movie, it said watch for free on Tubi first, so I just didn't think about looking further. And that when you look up that movie, it does have a thumbnail that is like it has like a part of a film collection on the sidebar. Like the only
Gotcha.
version of this movie that's streaming is the version of a movie that came in like an 8-movie DVD set. It's part of like a discount bundle, like you buy at a Walmart.
That's funny. Um, yeah, so they do have it on Prime, at least here in the United States.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was an interesting film. I think I ended up being more interested in a certain character in the film. That there was
Uh-huh.
something that he was doing that I was just like, that I think is the most interesting aspect of the
Yeah.
film. Uh, but then, yeah, I think at the end of the day, the film does kind of leave you with this question of like, is there supernatural stuff happening here? Like we don't we don't necessarily know, I don't want to spoil it yet, but yeah,
Mm,
there are some things that come into question and some things that they miss, that
yeah.
are in the film that they don't see and they don't discover, that is like, oh well, maybe, I don't know, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe there is something supernatural happening, but it's not the thing that the family thinks is happening at the beginning.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
um yeah, it's an interesting style. I think the mockumentary maybe made it less scary, like that, like filming it in that style, but I think as a result made it more emotionally impactful. I
Yeah.
think that's where this movie hits. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was happy to have watched this. Definitely a unique film. I do recommend checking it out. You know, if you like horror stuff and you want to see something that's different than what you've seen before, or you want to
Yeah.
watch a movie from Australia. Yeah, that was one of my goals. Like, I gave you all international movies from places we'd never seen anything before.
Yeah, because we've watched Korean shows and
Mm,
French movies and stuff like that. But yeah, we haven't touched Australia yet.
hmm
So there we go. Now we have. Um, with that being said, though, we kind of already did a plot
Yeah.
synopsis in there. So with that, I say we do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we will get into spoilers and stuff after
hmm
that. So we will be right back. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make, and yes, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and we'd love it if you would check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnauts, patreon.com/The Whatnauts is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/The Whatnauts, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you want to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. A big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, especially those at the $5 tier and above. So thank you to Sam. We
Thanks,
appreciate you.
Sam.
We love you a lot. Thank you so much for supporting us. It means a ton. Now, cool things that we've been doing around the Whatnauts. Let's see. On the captain's log, we had a really cool interview recently with Stephanie Cook.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun. She is a writer and a comic book creator and has a few graphic novels that are out there and available for you guys to check out. She also has her own podcast with a friend of hers all about capers and heist films and stuff like that. Capercast is what that one is called. We are almost done with our reactions to Marvel's What If. The final one is this week. I guess the day that this goes live is when the final one will be out, and we will be doing our reactions that night on that Wednesday, the Wednesday that this podcast goes live. So be on the lookout for all of that as well. Yeah, and then we just had a really good crossplay
Nice.
episode yesterday. So if you guys want to hear about some video games and potentially Konami returning to maybe remaster some Metal Gear Solid video games, you guys should check that one out as well. But yeah, that's it. That's some of the neat things that we have been up to here at the Whatnauts. So, with that, let's get into spoilers. Here we are. Spoiler territory.
Hmm.
So, Melissa, I said that
Yeah.
I was more interested in something that a certain character was
Yes. Good place
doing.
to
I would
start.
like to start there. Yeah. Um, so, yeah, we see this family kind of affected by the loss of their daughter, and the like surviving brother
Mm.
is into photography. And they very briefly show him like loading film into different cameras and developing stuff. And yeah, he has this fascination with photography that leads him to kind of doing this seemingly mundane project of photographing their backyard in the same spot every 3 months, and so he can just
Mm.
see like how that space changes with time, and he ends up capturing what he thinks is a ghost of his sister,
Mm.
which then kind of sparks the whole investigation of like, oh, is she trying to contact us? We've been hearing these strange noises. We didn't really know what they were, but now that we've seen this, huh? Uh-oh. And so yeah, that leads them to start. I don't want to say installing cameras because that's not the right word, but they set up these like
Yeah.
camcorders because this is happening like early 2000s, I think, is when
Yeah, the movie
the
came out
film
in
is set.
2008, and I think like the events are set starting in like 2005. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so they set up these like camcorders to kind of continuously film the house at night, in which the cameras capture more stuff that the family is just like, uh-oh, what is happening? Um, and I was fascinated with that. Like it seems like the brother, let me look up his name again. I think it was
Do
mm,
Matthew.
Matthew. I was gonna say Mike, but I was like, it's not Mike.
No, it's Matt.
Matthew. Matthew. Yeah, he gets interested in photography and starts going down that route. And I feel like I almost feel like this story would be better served as a TV show, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. Like I really really enjoy the idea of this story and what they did with this, but I feel like the investigation aspect of this like documentary, this like true crime but it's not true style
Mm-hmm.
investigation, like brings up some interesting things but then just never explores them.
Uh-huh.
And like I feel like you could dedicate like a whole movie or a whole like, here's episode 3 all about Matthew's photography, right, and all that stuff, because what we end up investigating like all of these pictures with these strange occurrences or these bits of film, only to find out that Matthew has fabricated them. So
Yeah.
most of the stuff that you thought was scary in this is fake, and it
I
didn't happen. And I find that to be fascinating. Not
Yeah.
it's a little bit disappointing that it was fake, but I like just the fact that that's what he turns to. Like they don't necessarily mention what the parents turn to, except the father turns to his the father the father turns to his work, and the
Mm-hmm.
son kind of dives into photography, and that's kind of all we know. But what does that actually mean? Like I've been there. in that
Mm-hmm.
same thing where like I've had something, I went through a bad breakup and then was just like, well, I'm just gonna throw myself into my artwork and just
Mm-hmm.
make stuff, right? Um, yeah, and like I feel like there could have been some really, really interesting stuff in there about just like how do you deal with photography? Because photography has a rich history of capturing the apparitions or ghosts or
Yeah.
weird orbs of light, stuff like that. And the film also kind of starts out with that, a bunch of these
Uh-huh.
photos of like double exposures or potential ghosts and stuff like that, which I don't really understand why the film started with that, because it really had nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, the
It was a weird
photographs are
choice.
a more minor part of the movie than you'd think. I kind of knew what was going to happen in this movie. I'd watched a video, I think, by the YouTuber Ryan Hollinger, who does
Okay.
horror movie retrospectives. And I knew that this was a fake documentary where this family lost their daughter, and then they found like photos and videos that appeared to capture her ghost. And then they found out that the son had been faking this as a way to sort of bring comfort to his parents. And
Right.
I thought that was going to be and it is a major twist of the movie, but that's like the twist of like the first act.
Yeah.
Like they figure that out like 30-40 minutes in.
Yeah. It's kind of glossed over because then they don't really. They like there's a scene with the mom is talking on camera and she just says like, I don't really understand why he did that. And then that's like
Well,
all they say on that, and then they move on.
well,
And it's like, oh, and then there's
the
this
reason
psychic.
he gives is that when when Alice's body was found, his parents drove out there. His mom was too emotional. She's like, I don't want to get out of the car. So like the dad went, looked at this like bloated, waterlogged body, identified it as Alice. And then they went through a whole the burial and everything like that. But it's always sort of lingered in the back of the mom's mind that she regretted not looking at the body, not
Yeah.
confirming that for herself, like having only one person's set of eyes on the sort of disfigured corpse leaves it open to the fact that maybe he made a mistake. Maybe Alice is still out there. So that's why Matthew fakes these photos and these videos. Like, and it's less as a ghost and more as, oh, what if Alice really was like she's still out there somewhere? She came to stand in our backyard or whatever. Like he does it because he knows that the mom has second thoughts about Alice's body and he wants to give her a good reason to exhume the body, get everything like DNA tested and confirm and like settle that in her mind forever so she doesn't worry about it anymore. That's why
Right.
he makes all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like like it feels like I'm hyper fixating on that stuff, but
It's an interesting
yeah.
concept.
Yeah, like I would like to know more. Like, what else in the world of photography is this kid into? Like, what inspired him to make this? Did he look at other photographers to inspire him to make that? Like, what if I just use my backyard project and do that way? Like, instead of doing something else, right? It might seem small to a lot of people, but
Mhm.
to me, who's done a lot of photography work and was an art
Yeah.
student, that stuff stood out and was just like, ooh, like I want to know more about that. So
Yeah, you could
there you
do
go.
if they chose a different route, you could do almost an entire movie that's just about the investigation of these photos and videos and then
Yeah,
the Matthews side of it and like why and how he chose to fake all of those things. Because I feel like this is an element I've seen in other stories before where you find out that like evidence is faked, but it's faked because of like it's some sort of fraud, like the person's hoping to like gain something from it, like money or
right. Yeah,
notoriety, or it's a trick. I like that his perspective was he wants to bring some sort of comfort to his
closure.
mom
Yeah,
through this. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He faked all of that stuff. That was an interesting thing that I was not expecting.
Hmm.
I could see if they like they do end up finding a photo or like a bit of film that another couple had
Yeah.
done, and so it's like if like I could see those being faked, right? Of like like you said, like someone out there wants to kind of cash in on this notoriety and somehow be like become a famous photographer because of this, but because it's Matthew, it's the brother. Like at first glance, it just like you don't necessarily see a motive behind that. Of
Yeah.
just like, well, why would he be the one to do
And the
that?
fact that it's so close, it speaks to the fact that maybe, oh, because it is her brother, that's why she appears in this photograph. It's like a family connection. She's reaching out to him
Mm-hmm.
specifically through one of his
Yeah,
hobbies. Yeah, and there
yeah.
is there's a video that like some local farmer takes out on like part of the water by where Alice died, I think. And there's a figure in the distance that they think is Alice, and it's revealed later that that was Matthew, and he's like wearing her jacket. And I don't think it was clear whether he's like, yes, I purposefully dressed up like Alice and I went to where I thought somebody would film me so that
Right?
people would think I was Alice's ghost,
It's
or
this
if it's
this
like
weird thing.
he's just, or like if he's just wearing his sister's old jacket like as comfort, or like maybe it was a really nice jacket and it fit him too, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
keep
it's
wearing this
like
jacket, this is North Face.
right,
Or
like
this is
his
expensive.
sister's like bomber jacket, which is maybe
Yeah,
more of like a unisex thing, right? That's just like
yeah,
I
yeah,
just like it's comforting to him, maybe,
yes,
but it's also again they don't really explain it enough to be like, well, what was he up to there? Like,
yeah.
was
Was he
he
just like
trying to
there
like
like
summon
thinking of
her?
right,
What is
like
he doing?
it's it doesn't seem like he would, there's so many variables, it doesn't seem like he went there with the purpose of like, yes, people will think I'm Alice's ghost, we look similar enough from that far away, or if he's like, yeah, I'm just missing Alice today, I'm gonna go walk around this beautiful nature area close to where
Yeah,
she died, and I just happen to be wearing her old jacket, and it's not clear if that's planned or if that's just circumstance.
yeah. But it gets caught on film and then starts to get
Mm,
circulated of like, oh yeah, these pictures of this go like shit. This
mm.
must be true because we caught one with her. And then down the road, it comes out that there is yet another group of people that filmed him at the lake there, um, and this is one that exposes it like it's actually him and not some
Mm.
ghost. um so yeah, all of this stuff comes out, and it's just this like interesting series of events, right? And just like,
Mhm.
in like the whole thing is just strange to see how he's coping with this, and then to see how the public is reacting, and it's
Mhm.
it's it's like this really small microcosm of how how we have all reacted to true crime podcasts after serial and stuff, right? Just this like, oh, like, hey, if we start investigating, maybe we can move this case along, or maybe we can solve it, and stuff like that. It's this like natural inclination to like want to be involved
Yeah,
somehow.
it's not quite to that degree. It's just that like nobody's out there investigating Alice's death. Everybody believes
Right.
it was just an accidental drowning. Nobody thinks there's anything sinister going on. Just that that one farmer happened to be filming across his land. He sees a figure in the distance. He's like, I think that's that girl who died. And then there's this couple who's also filming by the lake, and they realize, oh, we think we were there the same day that farmer was filming. Let's see what we can see in the background from our angle. And then they see Matt walking around, and they realize, oh, that's just her brother. They look similar. There was not Alice or Alice's ghost there at all.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I liked that whole part of the
Yeah.
film there. I do want to get into some of the more scary stuff that kind of
Yeah.
revolves around all of that. So at the end of the film, they kind of go back through some of that footage and they reveal like, oh, well, there was some things that they actually missed, which makes no sense to me, especially if
Okay,
they
so
were
are you talking
scouring
about
all of those.
Are you talking about the end credits?
Basically, yeah, where they
Okay,
reveal that there actually is some like, hey, there is a ghost, or there is a second. Again, what's her name again?
Alice.
Alice. I'm terrible with names. You guys know this. Where yeah, there is like in that backyard picture where you see her standing there. There's actually a second one of her sitting down, and then in that birthday footage, there's actually her like standing in the hallway back there. This is all stuff that they missed, which the outdoor one, the backyard one. If this is such a like, I don't want to say famous photo, but like a well-known photo in
Yeah, in that community, you imagine
this,
that maybe they would have shared it around. Yeah.
this would have been in like the local newspaper or something like that. You would think this photo, especially amongst like ghost hunting circles, would be scrutinized. Like every bit, everything, and how did they miss this second one in there?
See, this is right. Some of the examples are more subtle, like there's like home video of Matt's birthday, and like in the background you can see Alice, and there's that backyard photo where it's like, no, that very clearly there's another Alice sitting over there under the tree. All of this plays over the end credits. So I saw it less as all of this literally happened, because like you look at that backyard photo, it's like, no way, I don't buy that was missed. It seems like it's more like a what if. It's sort of a reflection on how even as they continued to dive into her life after it had finished, they thought they knew Alice, they kept finding more things. It's just sort of an artificial symbol of you. Maybe the book's not closed. Maybe you'll continue to find things about Alice. Or like, maybe. Here's the thing, though. This movie is a mockumentary. If we take it, and it's done very sincerely, I think it does a great job of appearing as a true documentary. If we take that concept at face value, if they truly did find additional Alices in these photos, they wouldn't just put them over the end credits. Like, this can't be part of the actual narrative.
Well, that's the thing. The family. So the way I read that is the family never found it. Like they didn't notice those things. Maybe they did down the road, but that's hearsay, right? Like for the initial kind of reaction to her death and all of that stuff and how they learned to cope, it was all of the stuff that we saw in the documentary. So maybe they did find that stuff down the road, but they had already maybe kind of accepted what happened or moved on or stuff like that. Because there is a bit at the end there where they're like, yeah, we've started to move on. We feel like a family again. Like we're laughing together. We get to go out and eat and have fun. Right? They seem to return to some normalcy. So maybe that implies that if they did find more of this stuff, that they'd be like, huh, that's strange, and then just kind of leave it at that. But I don't know.
See, I feel like if that happened, that would have been an actual scene in what's supposed to be a documentary.
Yeah,
I feel
maybe.
If these are all true, these are major twists to the narrative that we need to like see everybody's reaction to. And we would see that. Like, I think this is just maybe when the end credits start, it's like the documentary is over. And now it's more like a fictional like narrative film, a more traditional one, and
Well,
here's just these sort of, ooh, but what if you missed something? Like I think they're supposed to
so
give you a general sense of mystery, of the unknown, of things yet to discover, and maybe it's not literal.
Well, here's the thing. The birthday scene, they showed that in the middle of the
Yes.
documentary. She's in that scene. I caught it the
Okay.
first time. So she's
Okay. Now,
in
I did
that.
I did mean to go back
Go
and
ahead.
like double check some of the more subtle ones, like the birthday scene, but like, Dad, there's no way you snuck her past me in that backyard photo.
The only reason I could say that they snuck her past us in the backyard photo is because they are very clearly directing your attention
Yeah.
to the one where she is standing there. Like that is
Mm.
much more clear and visible, whereas the one that she's seated on the bench is like more in shadow and underneath this tree and stuff like that. But yeah, the thing is like zooming in on that one, so it is forcibly focusing your attention on this one thing. But yeah, that's the only thing that like gives me pause of like it it it's not a like a made up what if, but I also agree that it could be more metaphorical in a way
Yeah.
that she like, despite what they found or didn't find or how they moved on or how they coped, she is still there looking after her family or being with them as much as
Mm.
she can.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it, right? Like maybe that's
Yeah.
all you need is just the fact that she's there. She's
Mm.
there with her family. So, but yeah. Then I think at the I think closer to the end when they are doing that, there's one more like bit of film where it looks like someone walks in front of the camera and is like staring in the camera. Like that is, I think, one of the more like the scarier bits
Yes.
in that, because I think that's the one it leaves you on of like, but they might have missed some stuff, right? And it's
Yeah.
just like, oh shit, like here we go. uh,
Yeah.
but
I
but
think
yeah, that's just it's just the fact that they missed some stuff. Maybe it's
mm,
scarier than they think it is. Maybe it's not.
yeah, one of the biggest one of the most interesting twists of the movie relies on the fact that they did miss something. There's some footage of the hallway where like Matthew is walking past again, like sort of where he's actively pretending to be Alice. This is part of his plan to make the mother suspect that Alice maybe still be out there and then like go and exhume the body. That's what he wants the mom to do because he thinks that will be
Yeah,
beneficial to her. It's revealed like I said, I think that reveal comes like, half an hour into the movie or something like that, where it's like, oh, Matthew's been faking all of this. Shortly after that, there's an additional twist where the family's going back over the videos and they realize, yes, this is a video of Matthew faking something, but there is a
there's
real
something missed
intruder
in
in our
that.
house that you can see in like the bottom corner. That was really interesting. The fact
That
that
was,
there's
I think,
something real
also
hidden in the fake footage.
one of the more fascinating bits of the film that
Yeah.
they almost just didn't go into. Like again, they could, like, if this was like a series or a podcast or something, like they could have spent like 2 or 3 things investigating that photo and what
Yeah.
happened and what they found because of that. Just like, oh my god, there's so much stuff that is just like, what is going on here? This is wild. Um I yeah, this is the bit that I think felt the most like a true crime
Yeah.
podcast or something like that. Uh, where yeah, there is this figure that is like crouched down in the daughter's bedroom in this footage of Matthew walking across the
Mm.
screen pretending to be his sister, and they somehow recognize it, which
Yeah, they're
I
like,
was
oh,
just like,
that's
how
our
do you
neighbor.
recognize who that is? Like you
We-
can't even see. You just know
'Cause-
it's a figure. But it happens to be their next door neighbor that has broken into their house and it is like crouching down in Alice's bedroom.
Mm.
And so they're just like, what the fuck? And instead of like confronting him first, they're like, he was looking for something. What was he looking for?
Well, they can't confront him because he's moved away since the time when that
Okay, so
was filmed, and like
he's
when they
moved by
find it.
time they
Yeah.
found that then. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I knew he did move away, but which we'll mention in a sec here. But yeah, I didn't know if that was like he had already moved away or he was in the process of moving and like just managed to, like, they didn't ask him in time or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but yeah. So they look in Alice's room. They're like, what could he be looking for in there? And they have this like false wall where a fireplace used to be, or at least
Yeah.
that's what it looked like.
Yeah, it looks like it used to be a fireplace and it was like boarded up, but you can still like remove that and there is like a little space back there.
Yeah. And it turns out Alice has a safe back there.
Yeah.
And they open it up, and inside they find this videotape, which is a porn film starring her. I don't know if you could really call it porn exact. It's unclear if this is consensual or not.
It seems like it was. I mean,
tape.
she is. Yeah, it's her having a threesome with these two neighbors, this husband and wife, whose kids she babysits, and it seems like that was like recent, like before she died, and she does seem, like she's agreeing to it, but weird power dynamics and all that. I'll say that
she's agreeing to it, but I think it's important to note that she's still underage. Like,
yeah. I want to say that like this was something I had this was something I had heard about, and I think I'd heard that like she slept with the neighbor or something, and I was expecting the fact that it's a threesome with him and his wife, I'll say, is like new. That's a new form of like illicit things to happen to a teenage girl. So part of the newness of it made it feel a little better than just like her sleeping with like some creepy neighbor man. Not that he's not still a creep, but I don't know. It's a new form of bad thing to happen to teenage girl. And I'm like, well, it's still bad, but I don't know. It's different bad than the things I've had to see before. Like in that French show we watched, The Forest, where you find out that the dad had been like sleeping with the daughter's 15-year-old friend. It feels better than that does, at least.
Yeah, that because like, you know what? I don't feel like we need to rationalize the sleeping with the underage. We don't need to do that at all.
It's a bad thing, but as a narrative choice, if you're going to write in something like this, I appreciate that this isn't like the same story I've seen in other crime, mystery, murder
Yes,
drama.
sure. Sure.
I appreciate that you tried something new.
But yeah, so they discover that, and yeah, they don't get to confront this neighbor because the neighbor has kind of disappeared. They moved, I think they said like 6 months after the daughter died. They seemingly moved out right away. And the neighbor didn't find this tape and stuff like that, which might have been the impetus for them to move there when they had originally filmed that bit. And yeah, the neighbor just kind of disappeared. Like that's one of the mysteries of this film, is that they really don't get to talk to him. They get to talk to other people about him,
Mm.
and stuff like that, but they also don't really talk about the wife. Like,
Yeah, yeah. That was interesting to me too. Like she's clearly present there, but like I don't think she's named. They don't talk about her role in anything. And the dad is like, "Oh, if I ever see that guy again, I'm gonna beat him up." It's like, well, how do you feel about the wife's participation in this? Like, it's clear in the video they're both there, but all of the like, I don't. It's all placed on the husband's shoulders.
yeah, I guess that might just be a more like traditional viewpoint of like the husband
Perhaps,
is
yeah.
the man of the he's the lead head the head of the family, right? Um, yeah, but it's that's a whole thing that I just felt like they mentioned, they explained it in a way that was like, okay, we explained it and answered it, but they
Yeah.
didn't investigate this thing, and I was like, this is what I mean with like I like the idea of this movie. I feel like it could be so much more affecting or scarier
Mm.
if it was drawn out. But I think if it was drawn out and made into a series, I think it would be like I feel like it would end up being more of a true crime
Mm.
documentary rather than like a horror or a supernatural look at this family and how they cope and stuff like that. I feel like it would change it just a bit, which might not be for the best, but yeah, it's just like
Mm.
it's one of those things when like you submit your paper to your English teacher and they're just like, great idea, push it further, like keep
Yeah.
going, right? Like that's how I feel with this. I like it, but keep going.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. Like, if we talked more to that couple, I don't know if it would help us illustrate more about Alice than what we need. Just knowing that this is something that happened, something she kept a secret from them, this sort
Yeah.
of secret that's lingering after her death that still has consequences, and the guy breaking into the house to steal the tape. I feel like it serves the purpose it's supposed to serve. And they do acknowledge, like, I think there's like a local police officer who we check in with is part of the talking heads of this documentary. And I think she does say, we are looking for that couple. We don't know where they moved to. We're like trying to find leads.
Active
That looks like they're
investigation.
drying
Yeah,
up. Yeah, yeah. Like an attempt was made.
absolutely. I have a bit of a weird question for you
Okay.
here. So you mentioned secrets, and I think the movie sets you up to kind of be expecting that the daughter has a bunch of these secrets. Do you feel like the daughter had sufficient secrets?
I
It's a bit of a weird question there.
I feel like given how, she does die when she's 16, and her secrets are she had that threesome with the neighbors. She um she was just filled with a sense of dread in her life, and she went to see a local psychic, a guy who does like a radio show. People in the town like know of him. Many people have called him, and she sets up a consultation with him. And that's a secret that she kept from her family. And then
Mhm.
the final secret of like what happened at Lake Mungo. So it's three secrets pretty
Three
much.
secrets. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I think this might be a factor of again what I just said. I think it would work better as a series. I don't necessarily feel like the daughter really had that many secrets, right? I feel like if you are a non-believer in the supernatural stuff, that like her sense of dread and maybe what happened to her at the lake is just like stress and anxiety and teenage angst and all that stuff. She's also a teenager, right? So she would be
Yeah.
interested in sex and stuff like that and trying to figure out what all of that is about. And Yeah, I think just this like private consultation with the psychic, not really that. I think that's maybe her just trying to reach out. It's
Yeah.
more of a call for help, but
Yeah, I might call this 2.5 secrets because
it's not
you know,
really a
the
secret. She's trying
it's
to
more like
deal with it and
private
just never.
business. Yeah.
She also just never really got a chance to tell her parent. Like, it's
Mhm.
not necessarily something she was purposely hiding, but
Yeah.
just like, hey, let me see if I can figure this out and investigate it. And once I know, or once I feel like this is something that my parents should know, then yeah, like I may have told them. But the film starts out with a voice line from, I guess, one of her friends that was like, "Oh yeah, Alice had secrets. Her secrets had secrets." And it just like it started the film like making me think like there's going to be so much like
Mhm.
they like all sorts of stuff that they didn't know. And it might be true that there is, like we talked about at the start, that there might be more to her that the family will discover down the road. We don't know. But this film just didn't address that. And I felt like the big
Yeah.
secret was this was this threesome. And that was
Mm,
kind of it. And I was just like, well, okay, I
I
guess.
speaking of the friend, yeah, that's not a line I thought about after I heard it, but I think maybe it's coming from the point of view of this is one of her classmates. Maybe it's like she cheated on a test. She prank called a boy. Maybe she had a lot of like low stakes teenage secrets like that
He
that
did
don't
weed
factor
underneath
into the
the
movie.
bleachers.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, but like
She's
they
not the
factor into like
good girl that you thought she
right.
was.
Yeah, it may affect it like how her friends look back on her, but isn't significant enough to get the attention of this supposed documentary filmmaker who's making all
Yeah.
of this. Yeah, I'd say like the threesome is a definite like clear overt secret. The consultation with the psychic is more like I'm having bad dreams. I have the sense of uncertainty, the sense of dread. I just want somebody to talk to, somebody to work through this with. And then what happens at Lake Mungo is you can understand why that's not necessarily a secret. Maybe she's like, I don't really know what I saw. I don't know what I experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. So let's talk about that. Let's move
Mm,
on a bit from that. But yeah, Lake Mungo. What happened at Lake Mungo? So it's apparently this like summer camp place exactly. I was a little bit unclear on what it was because it looked
yeah.
like the family could just go there and stay there. But if it was at an
It
actual like
looks
summer camp, I feel like
it looks
that
like
wouldn't be a place you could just reserve a cabin at.
I don't think it's like a summer camp like for kids. It seems like it's like a general like uh looks like these were lakes once that have since dried up, so there's all these weird little like canyons, land formations. Like it's just sort of like one of the many natural wonders of Australia with like cabins around it. And some of her school went there as like a weekend trip, but then also like her family could go and rent a cabin there.
I gotcha. Okay, yeah. So they have a bunch of like really shitty cell phone footage, like
Yeah.
early 2000s. Every like you got 6 whole pixels to look
Right.
at here on this thing, which
Which is,
makes
I think, one of the strengths of the movie.
yeah yeah I like it. It also makes a lot of those bits kind of unwatchable. That it's just like I have no idea what's happening here. It's choppy, it's pixelated, like, and which then lends itself to the whole like, well, I don't know what I actually experienced
Yes.
in this thing. Um,
Yeah,
but
I want to say that I
yeah,
appreciate that the film didn't try and fudge how good a camera phone may have been at that time. It's like, you're right. It looks
yes,
terrible. It's supposed to look terrible. it's not like they're shooting on just like a lower quality film camera and you're like, no, that's not from any phone a teenager has. No camera that's that good is something a
How did
parent
they
would like
have an
trust their
iPhone
teen to
11
carry with
back
them on a
in
school trip.
2000?
Right. Like it seems authentic, and it is that pixelation, that blurriness, that uncertainty that gives you this extra chill of, I don't know what all of these shapes are going to resolve into. Like my eyes are searching these frames, trying to make sense
Right.
of these like real choppy, blocky images. Am I going to see the face of a real teen, one of Alice's friends, or am I going to see something that truly is not supposed to be there? Like your
Yeah.
brain's trying to work to differentiate what is natural and what is not.
Right. Yeah. And so it seems like one of those nights that I guess school members, or I don't know if this was more like a spring break type of thing where all the girls go out there and stuff like that, because it was like her friend group, but it was only the girls that were out there that night.
I don't know, maybe that's just that. It seemed like it was part of a school trip, maybe something extracurricular, but I think this was just like they snuck out, or it's like, okay, from 8 to 9, you can sort of walk around. That's free time for you.
Yeah. And it's middle of the night, it's pitch black, and these girls are out. It looks like they are just filming things, having fun. Maybe they're smoking, maybe they're drinking. It's unclear. But they're just having fun and scaring each other and stuff like that. And in the midst of that, Alice, who has been dealing with these nightmares and stuff like that, wants to kind of get rid of it in a sense. So the way I understood it is that, yeah, she wanted to kind of get rid of all of that stuff and just do this kind of homemade ritual to cleanse herself. So she she wanders off by herself to bury these things, and that's when she sees this thing. Is that how you
I think she saw it, like she's walking
saw it first
around
and then wants to
yeah
cleanse herself?
like
Okay.
we see the aftermath of it on her friend's video, and then her parents dig up that phone and find the video she had been shooting, and they see what happened before to make her behave the way she was behaving in the other videos.
Yeah. So she, I guess, out and about while they were doing their stuff, she sees this thing off in the distance. She's not sure what it is, but it starts like making a beeline, like straight for her, and is like coming at full speed. And they capture a bit of it on the cell phone, and yeah, when they try and get the clearest picture of that, it looks an awful lot like the dead body that they took out of the dam, that the father identified as Alice. So it is this like, we like, did you see your own dead body? Is this just a physical manifestation of this impending doom that you see? Like, what's happening here? But they caught it on camera, so it was something. She saw something.
Yes.
But it's so nondescript. It's so unclear about what it is that it really could be anything. But yeah, it looks an awful lot like that dead body.
Yes. Yeah, that's chilling. That's one of the
Yeah.
scary bits in the movie where it zooms in on this the creepy face, and you realize where you've seen it before, and then the film cuts
Yeah.
back to like there was like a medical photo of Alice's corpse. Yeah.
Yeah. That was scary. And it frightens her so much that, yeah, she does this like homemade ritual to basically just like, look, I just need to leave all of this behind and cleanse myself of that and just be done, please. Let me not have to think about this stuff.
Yeah, it's sort of as a like
spooked her.
maybe she Yeah, and like she's been having like what she talked about with the psychic, just having the sense of dread. Like she's like, I know something's bad about to happen. Like oh, and so
And
it seems like
I
when
think
she
she has that
sees,
line where she says, "I think it already did."
maybe, yeah, like her fate has been sealed,
Yeah.
and it's just like the clock is ticking down to the moment of her actual death. Yeah, so when
Moral of the
she buries
story
her,
is don't have a threesome with the neighbors.
don't
Or your fate
don't
will
do
be
that.
sealed.
Right, on any side. Don't have a threesome with the neighbors if you're all like consenting adults. In that situation, it's okay. Party all you want as long as you don't hurt anybody. Um, yeah, she buries her phone. She buries like her favorite bracelet and watch. Like she buries a couple personal effects as like she's setting her own memorial for herself, kind of.
Yeah.
Because
Stuff that
she
she
knows,
identifies as this represents me.
yeah, and like maybe if when she sees that figure, maybe she can recognize it as that's what I would look like if I drown. And maybe she kind of knows that. Maybe she thinks, what if I die in a way that leaves my parents no body to bury? I bury symbols of myself.
Interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting thought. Do you think that this body is potentially something she saw elsewhere at other times and we just don't know it? Or
I
is
don't
this
know.
the like
Maybe she
only
saw,
occurrence?
maybe she had a feeling, or maybe she saw something like that in dreams, or thought she caught something out of the corner of her eye. But maybe this is the clearest she's ever seen this thing. Maybe it's the time that it walks right up to her and faces her.
Yeah. So like I feel like if she is in fact seeing herself from the future, like her dead self, like I think that begs the question of did she die on accident? I don't necessarily think that was suicide, but is like did
No.
this thing kill her somehow? Like did it pull her down in the lake and they some in
Ooh.
like a weird like metaphorical way became one at that point?
Oh, yeah.
Um
Could be something like that. Yeah, like the way
yeah,
she dies, like she's out swimming with her brother and he says like I just turned around and then I didn't see her anymore.
it was just
The water was
gone.
still,
Yeah.
like I didn't hear her struggle. I don't know where she went. So like it's a death where nobody suspects anything, but it is still odd. The fact that she drowned does seem almost like a freak accident somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just it's I think the film does a good job of telling you the whole story and the story that I think it wants to tell about this
Yes.
family coping and trying to deal with the whole situation. But again, I kind of feel like there's so much that is left out of the film that could potentially be fascinating. Um,
Yeah.
of yeah, like if we did get to explore her and her life a little bit more, did Alice see this thing again? Is this the only time? Like that's a question that this film didn't really get to
Mhm.
address in this, and that's something I would like to at least investigate a tiny bit more. We might not get the thing of like, well, she saw it here or that, but it's something that I think is at least worth trying to figure out.
Yeah, there's a lot of ideas explored in this movie. We've mentioned that she went to see a psychic and we don't find out that out until later, towards the beginning of the movie. The mom reaches out to the psychic, in her despair, trying to like get some sort of closure. The family kind of befriends the psychic, so the psychic comes to care about that family and their journey. And it's not until later when they find the safe, and in addition to that tape, they also find like Alice's a diary and like her planner, and she had like a business card from the psychic, and she made an appointment with him, and we find out that she had this consultation with him, and the family feels betrayed, and you see the psychic, and he's like, I did not mean to betray the family. It was only my intention to uphold the like patient confidentiality that I had with Alice. Not a patient, but like she's my client. I take what I do very seriously. Nothing that's said in a session gets shared with anybody outside of that. That's my policy. And like you understand where he's coming from. And that's a question of, well, what's a secret and what's something that is just private business that isn't for sharing?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. It's also a weird one in circumstances of death, right? It's
Yeah.
like, well, if she's died, on one hand, I understand the hesitation to be like, well, she's dead, so here you go. But it is also like she's died, and now like weird things are happening. Like there is this active investigation kind of going on, whether it's a homemade one by the family or this like investigation by the police to potentially find the neighbor who may have had something to do with this, or maybe
It
not. We
seems
don't
like
know.
never
Like,
he does. I want to say that it seems like he never does at all. With like nobody ever suspects that he had something to do with her death, him or his wife, because they were there. Like the family was there when it
right,
happened. And it's like we just turned around and she went underwater. How could
right, yeah.
anybody else have been at blame for that?
Right. It's not like an active murder investigation, but there is this idea kind of around the whole situation that people are questioning things and they're looking into certain aspects. And so, yeah, I feel like under those circumstances, it would at least be prudent to be like, hey, because of the weird thing that's happening, let me at least tell you that she came to see me. I have these tapes. I would like to keep them private because of patient confidentiality, but you're the remaining family. Like, it might be up to you guys what happens to these tapes now. But there's no
But
discussion of that. He
yeah,
just is like,
but
yeah, I
also,
just didn't say.
he comes to befriend this family. He might feel like it is detrimental to them to tell them. Alice had a lot
Right.
of fear. It seems like Alice could feel this coming. Like your daughter spent her last months of life living under a dark cloud. Like that might not help them. Like the truth probably isn't going to bring any light to their lives in that case.
Yeah. Yeah, which also makes sense, right? Of just like, well, here's why I didn't show them. Here's why I made that decision. It might just be an emotional one. Like these guys are looking for some kind of closure, and I think this is going to, one, not give them that, but two, not necessarily open new wounds or tell new secrets, but just it might paint a sadder picture of who
Yeah.
this person was. Yeah, so like all of that makes sense. The thing that fascinated me, and again that they really didn't talk about, is that the daughter's sessions and the mother's sessions seem to match up.
Yeah,
And that
I
they,
liked that a lot. I don't feel like that's
yeah,
something that needs to be talked about. Alice and her sessions with the psychic, and he like when he kind of like puts somebody like almost into like a trance sort of, and he's like, okay, just you're walking
it's
up to
like
your house.
guided
Describe your
meditation.
house to me. Yeah. Describe your house to me. What path do you take as you go into different rooms? What do you see? And like the daughter, yeah, like Alice like goes into her room and she's like, I see my mom here, but my mom doesn't see me. And for her, it's a feeling of, I feel closed off from my mom. My mom and I don't have a good relationship. I don't feel like I can talk to her.
They don't know who I
And for,
really am,
yeah.
kind of thing.
And for the mom does the same thing in her session, but she's like, I go into Alice's room. I don't see her there. I feel like she is gone. And for the mom, it's a feeling of peace. Like Alice has passed on. I can move on in my own life now.
Well, the
And it's
first time that happens, she sees her daughter sitting on the chair, but like isn't reacting to her. So she also feels that same discomfort connect of
Yes.
of like, hey, I can see her, but she can't see me. And then the daughter has the same thing of like, I can see her, but she can't see me. And it is this like, it oddly like matches up, and then the there's like, okay, I'm turning to leave, and then it shows the daughter being like, okay, she's turning to leave, like all this stuff, and it's just like, this is matching up. Like, like they don't mention of like, oh, okay, did the psychic end up showing them the tapes or not even after it came out? We don't know.
Oh.
And so it is this weird thing of like, they never addressed if like they've realized that these sessions matched up somehow, and it is just this kind of mysterious thing of just like, we'll leave you with that note.
That's true. Yeah, like we don't see that that the mom realizes that she had one perspective of this scenario and Alice had the other, that they do match up like that. But I like that that's the note that the movie ends on. It's very sad. This movie's very sad. But it's there is some sort of beauty to it, and the fact that even if you aren't like you aren't seeing eye to eye, you aren't meeting each other at the right times, even in this sort of cosmic psychic space, your family is always connected. You're always tethered to each other. You will not lose track of each other.
Yeah, it's an interesting movie for sure. I just not as scary as I was thinking it was going to be. Like we said, there are a few scary moments. Some very like striking pictures that's just like, ooh, I don't want to be looking at that for too long. That's a little terrifying.
Some of them are pretty though. Like we talked about the parents driving down to the dam to see where they found Alice's body, and there's a bit that like doesn't play in anything, where the dad just says, we had problems with the car trying to drive home later that night.
Yeah,
it would only work if we went in reverse. So we had to go in reverse the whole way home, which is like
that was
kind
maybe
of absurd.
Absurd, funniest thing in the whole film. You're just like, what? Why is this even in here?
Yeah. It's kind of absurd, but it's also kind of like unnerving, and like there's footage in the film that clearly is not what actually happened. You know, it's these documentarians, you know, making like a reenacted B-roll for later on where they just drive a car in reverse. But it's a beautiful shot of like this one little car driving in reverse against the Australian sky. Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's eerie. I thought like that was a nice detail to throw in there. I think that helped it feel like it was more of a true documentary, which is something I think the movie does a good job with.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's kind of all I have to say on this film. I was thinking it might dive into the family history a little bit more to see if there were like hauntings in the family earlier, right? Especially with all those old pictures at the start of like, ooh, is this somehow related to this thing? Like we said, it's more just a theme of like photography. And sure does have a history of capturing spooky things that maybe aren't actually spooky.
Yeah, it's a motif, but it's not really a theme.
Yeah. It's I'm still thinking about the film. I will give it that. But yeah, I don't think this is not a it's sad. It's a bit of a downer of a film, right?
It
so
is.
I don't want to say it's bad because of that, but it is less exciting, right? It's not a thriller. It is this very somber film. So I think you have to be in the right mood to kind of watch this or want to watch this.
I think it's a great piece of work. I am pleased that I have seen it. I have been in a weird mood all week. Like I feel unnerved sitting here talking about it almost. I think because it is so small and so personal, and it's so based around this like family structure, and it's like, I have a mom and a dad and a brother. Like, it's so personal. It's so close to the average viewer, perhaps. So, like, I recommend seeing it, particularly, like I said, if you like horror movies, if you like just sort of uniquely formatted films, if you do like true crime or tales of the supernatural, and you want to see a fictional story that, I mean, we've talked about how it feels like if this was something that was done today, it would be done a lot differently because this genre of entertainment is something that has really blown up over the last handful of years.
Right.
Like if something like this happened now, it would be like a 20-hour podcast series or like something you'd subscribe to Discovery Plus to watch. I recommend it, but yeah, just be aware. Like, watch this movie, but you better make a lot of things to like pick your mood up in the days after that. Make sure you have a full social calendar.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Well, Melissa, I think it is time to check in on bingo. And bingo. I don't know about you, but I think we can finally cross off Ghosts.
Took a long time.
I think we both have this one on our bingo cards. I know it is a mockumentary, right? And it is this like, is it a ghost? Is it? Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. But I feel like this is one we can say just like, yes, this is a movie about a ghost. Yeah. Ghost
that gives me family. Oh my God, Kyle, I've got 2 more bingos now.
I have 2 more? So you have 4?
I've got 2 horizontal, 1 vertical, 1 diagonal. I only have 5 squares left to cross out.
Fuck. Melissa, I still only have 1.
Oh man. Well, you had the early, you're the rabbit, you're the hare, I'm the tortoise.
The early lead. Yeah. So I have 2 things. I have 2 columns that each need 1 thing in them. And then if I get both of those things, then I will just need 1 more thing to get that row across. So I like very easily could potentially just be like bam, 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 right? And get those 3 bingos there. So
we'll see what the rest of the year has for us.
Yeah. Let's see. No ancient evil.
Not really.
The detective did not make this case personal.
No.
No death by electrocution. Oh well, I think that's about it. Well, vehicle in peril. We had to reverse the whole way home.
I
feel like
if we get in like one more good contemporary superhero story before the end of the year, that will do a lot for both of us.
Come on, November.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I think that's it for bingo, though. We both got Ghost on our thing here. Yeah, so that is our
right. And we should say to the audience, at least on my square, when I wrote it down, it's Ghost !
Yes, same here.
Ghost
with an exclamation mark. Ghost. Melissa, let's do some recommendations.
Yeah.
If people liked Lake Mungo, what else might they enjoy?
I feel like this was a great companion piece to just a couple weeks ago when we read the novel House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. Because that's a novel that's also very interestingly structured in sort of a non-fiction-y way, where it is a journal about an academic book about a documentary that was supposedly made. So there's also a documentary in this. The narrative is that a family moves into a house that is weird. Like the house keeps spatially changing in these impossible ways. It's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. It's growing new doors and new hallways and new corridors where there cannot be that. And it happens that the father of this family is a photojournalist, and he was already planning on like making sort of a documentary about the experience of his family moving into a new home, settling down, him and his the mother of his children, they've always been together, they've never gotten married. Will they get married now in this scenario? How will their relationship grow and develop? So he's already like filled the house with cameras. And this is a book that was written in 2000 about like, and I think the events in that narrative take place in like 93, 94, 5. So it's also like old
Early 90s, yeah.
camcorders.
Yep.
Yeah, and to like everything in the book sounds eerier when you imagine that the only way people have seen it outside of the people who lived it was on like a camcorder. Like everything seems creepier when you imagine that it all happened in like America's Funniest Home Videos visual quality. So to read about all of this and then get to watch this movie that is all, I mean, it's set in like 2005, so like the technology's more advanced, but it's still like blocky and grainy, and your eyes are kind of straining to like pick out shapes in the dark. Like this was a nice visual follow-up to what we read about in that book.
Absolutely.
I would also recommend the podcast, The Battersea Poltergeist, which I've mentioned before. It's from like BBC Radio, I think, and it is the story of a girl whose family in like the 1950s, they lived in London. Their house was being haunted by a poltergeist, and it seemed like not her specifically. Like the poltergeist was like attached to this young girl. And the podcast is a combination of interviews with, that woman's still alive. It's interviews with her, interviews with like people who are around at that time. It's the host of the podcast does like these sort of Mythbusters experiments. Like, okay, they said that the noise that they heard in the apartment was so loud that like neighbors down the street could hear it, and it was this unexplained noise. I'm gonna like play my stereo real loud, and I've got my buddy like stationed at the corner. He's gonna report to me if he can hear it or not. So then we'll have like a frame of reference for these ghost noises the family's talking about. So it's real documentary coverage of this event, but also parts of it that are like recreations in the format of an audio drama with like really good actors. Toby Jones plays like the paranormal investigator, for example. It's really interesting. And also, if you just want to see more of Australia, because I think it's a beautiful, fascinating country, this is a real change of pace. There's a show on Netflix called Instant Hotel. It is a competition reality show about a bunch of people in Australia who have different Airbnbs, like different pairs of people, couples, parent-child teams, sibling teams, whatever, business partners. And they just all take turns staying the night at each other's Airbnbs, and then they rate them, and then they go on to the next person. It's like, oh, you were the host last time. Now it's your turn to be the guest. And it's just a nice tour to all of these different parts of Australia. Like we're in the cities, the beaches, and the more rainforesty areas. There is an episode where they stay in like underground homes in the outback in Coober Pedy. If you just want to look at Australia, it's a really fun show. There's 2 seasons. I keep hoping like they'll wind up making more of it. I like it a lot.
There you go. Good stuff. Yeah, I want to second your recommendation on House of Leaves. It very much is, this thing is kind of happening to and around this family. It's set in a similar time period, kind of. And yeah, it is a lot about like how they deal with this supernatural thing and how they can confront it, and how they confront the loss of loved ones and so on and so forth. It's a spooky book indeed. And yeah, it definitely, I was reminded of that as I was watching Lake Mungo here. I would also recommend the Black Tapes podcast if you do want a like supernatural true crime kind of style documentary podcast thing. It's a fictional story, but it is presented as if it is real, much like this in Lake Mungo here. The Black Tapes was created by Paul Bay, who we have gotten to interview on our podcast, The Captain's Log. So you guys can keep an eye out for that one as well. It's already out. We did the interview months ago now. But yeah, I would recommend that because they do that more like investigation style podcast drama. It's all acted out. All that stuff. It's good. It's a good ghost story, and it goes to some interesting and creepy places. So,
Fine. Yeah, one of my faves. I have re-listened to the Black Tapes several times.
It's a good one indeed. Yeah, and then I think that's about it for recommendations for me.
Okay.
Nothing else is really coming to mind at the moment. So there you go. Melissa.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into pitches?
Yeah, I'm excited. What do you have for me?
So I got 2 options here off the bat. You might need to do some strategery to figure it out here. I guess not figure it out, but I have my pitches ready for this week, and then in 2 weeks, whenever I go next. So it just depends on which set you want first. I have one that's all comics, and I have one that's all TV shows.
Ooh, okay. Let's see.
What one would you like to do first?
So we'd be doing the TV shows the week of the starting on 17th. I'm gonna tell you what, Kyle. Which one of these pitches do you feel like includes more lighter-hearted entertainment? Because I feel like schedule-wise, I could go for either reading a comic, watching a show, but like I said, I feel like I need a little bit of a mood booster after Lake Mungo. Which do you feel like is going to be more fun out of your 2 sets?
Interesting question, because this is horror month. So it is all like spooky stuff, right? Like
I do like spooky stuff more than you do, though. So a lot of horror is fun for me. Like I watch like a slasher movie and just laugh. I have a great time. This particular story was almost more of a tragedy than a horror.
I think the only one that maybe you would consider fun would be in the TV section, but I don't feel like all of the picks are fun, if that makes sense.
Go for it. Go for the set of TVs.
The TV ones? Okay, I have the descriptions pulled up here. So first, this is a fairly recent show on Netflix that has gotten some good reviews so far. I'm also a big fan of Rahul Kohli, who stars in Midnight Mass on Netflix. I have heard good things. There's 1 season out so far. I believe it is only 1 season. Like I think it's supposed to be a mini series. So there's 7 episodes out.
Okay, that sounds good.
The series is about a small, isolated island community whose existing divisions are amplified by the return of a disgraced young man and the arrival of a charismatic priest. They describe this as a supernatural horror. And if I'm not mistaken, this is by the same creators as like Haunting on Hill House or something like that. I don't know where I heard that, so I could be wrong. So take that with a grain of salt. But I have heard
I think that's true.
Good things. And yeah, I'm interested in checking this one out. I think more so than like Haunting of Hill House and stuff like that. I forget what that follow-up series.
Blythe Manor.
Blythe Manor, which I think also had Rahul Kohli in that. So Midnight Mass is pitch number 1. That's on Netflix.
Okay.
In fact, all of these are on Netflix.
Andy.
Pitch number 2 is a South Korean TV series. This is a horror thriller. It's a Korean political period piece with zombies. This one is called Kingdom. I actually pitched this last year, I believe.
Okay.
And this was one of the ones that was not picked, but I think it looks interesting. There's 2 seasons of this. Each season is only 6.
Okay.
6 each, so we could do both seasons. If we wanted to. I don't know if they're making a 3rd season or not. That's a little bit unclear. But it is set during Korea's Joseon Dynasty. I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's it. It's 3 years after the Imjin War. The first season of Kingdom.
Like, what year is this? I don't. You name wars and dynasties. I don't. What
it is
century?
Not saying. Let me see here. The Joseon Dynasty. When did this take place?
Like, I'm trying to picture how much of a period piece this is.
It was the last dynastic kingdom of Korea. It was founded in July of 1392.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this is Middle Ages. This is Green Knight times approximately.
Yeah. It says, yeah, it was founded in 1392, but replaced by the Korean Empire in 1897. So it was a long-lasting period.
Okay. Good. Wow. Yeah, that could be anywhere within like 500 years.
Yeah. But yeah, so Kingdom. So let's see, the first season of Kingdom follows the story of the crown prince Li Chang and his subordinates who stumble across an unnatural plague that resurrects the dead amidst his investigation of a brewing political conspiracy and rumors of the king of Joseon's death. So there is that. If I'm not mistaken, this stars Bae Dona, who you guys might recognize from Sense8.
Okay.
Stuff like that. The Korean woman.
Never seen Sense8, but I was looking at the cast list and I thought, this person seems familiar to me. I've also probably seen their face on a splash page on Netflix.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Probably. But yeah, this is a Korean show. So yeah, interesting one with that. That is Kingdom. And last but not least, this one is also fairly recent on Netflix. However, I haven't heard much. Unfortunately, I think got buried and was maybe a little bit too far away from October for it to really catch on in the horror category. But I've heard good things, but then it just quickly moved on. This is Brand New Cherry Flavor. The premise is Lisa Nova, played by Rosa Salazar, comes to Los Angeles dead set on directing her first movie. But when she trusts the wrong person and gets stabbed in the back, everything goes sideways, and a dream project turns into a nightmare. This particular nightmare has zombies, hitman, supernatural kittens, and a mysterious tattoo artist who likes to put curses on people. And Lisa's going to have to figure out some secrets from her own past in order to get out alive. So that is Brand New Cherry Flavor. It's 8 episodes. It's meant to be a mini series, so I think it is completely done. This looked interesting. This looked like it had a hard hitting. This is the one that I think you would think is fun. It looked like it almost had like a grindhouse / slasher style to it. Hard hitting, fast paced, and fun, but still horror drama on that one there. So, pitch number 1, Midnight Mass. Pitch number 2, Kingdom, and pitch number 3, Brand New Cherry Flavor.
Interesting set of pitches. I am kind of intrigued by Kingdom. Maybe in years to come we will eventually cover it. I got to go with Brand New Cherry Flavor because that's a show I've been wanting to pitch to you. And look,
Okay.
you've already given it to me.
There you go.
And this
Stars
is a
are
show
aligning.
that friend of the show Jack started watching and recommended is perhaps something that we could cover here in our Halloween month.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I saw this. It came out in August, which is why I was like, it maybe missed the spooky train or was just a little early. But yeah, I saw the trailer for this and I was like, oh, that looks interesting enough to like, I would maybe want to watch that and pitch that on the show. So that is what we will do for this next week. Brand New Cherry Flavor. And then when I pitch again in 2 weeks, we will have some comics to check out.
That's nice to know. It's nice to have an idea coming up of like what I might be up to that week.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll tell you, Kyle, as a little preview. The pitches I'll be giving next week may be kind of a grab bag. I'm still figuring them out, but my pitches for the final episode of the Halloween set will be pairs of movies. They will be horror movies and their remakes.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah. So I'd let you know now so that you know to plan out time for 2 movies that week.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brand New Cherry Flavor. It's available on Netflix. Go check it out. That's what we will be talking about this next week. We hope you enjoy it. I hope I enjoy it. I hope Melissa enjoys it. But yeah, I think that about wraps us up for this week on the review show. So Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities, where me and my brother Jams talk about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember. Our first episode we're doing for October should be coming out soon. This will definitely be out by the time you listen to this, but it's about Ghost Rider, an old PBS show from the 90s about like a ghostly orb of light that gives kids words and helps them solve little puzzles. But we talk about
not Ghost Writer, not the Marvel comics.
Different from like, not Johnny Blaze or whatever his name is on the motorcycle. And we cover a series of episodes where they encounter a little monster named Gooey Gus. It's
great. Gooey Gus.
Kyle, you laugh, but like Gooey Gus is terrifying. Like you're going to Google Ghost Rider Gooey Gus, and you're going to see all these articles like Gooey Gus, the monster that traumatized your childhood, right there on PBS. Like, yeah, he's a little silly, but he's intense. So I definitely wanted to cover that in the month of October. Like, we got to talk about Gooey Gus.
Here, I think
little
I'm
purple guy
up
wearing a hat.
Picture, of this guy here. We're gonna switch to the browser so you can see good old Gooey Gus. Guy is disgusting looking.
Yeah,
horrifying. Anyways, there you go. That's what's coming up on Saturday Morning Obscurities over on Melissa's podcast over there. You guys can find me at Kyle Springer on Twitter. And if you guys want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. So please go like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a foe, tell someone alive, tell someone dead. Just help spread the word. That would help us out a ton. And we would appreciate it a lot. So I think that is about it. So with that, we will see you all next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.